Well, moving on to our next session, which is the lending model, consumer lending and financial inclusion. To know more about this and to get your opinions and views, understanding the best practices in consumer lending regulations, tracking the available data models for healthy lending practices, along with knowing what the scope of regulation and control use of credit bureaus are, we have with us a great session, and of course the panel will be chaired by Mr. K.V. Karthik, Senior Director and FS Lead. Let's put our hands together as he joins us on stage. He represents Deloitte Touch. Let's put our hands together as I welcome on stage Mr. K.V. Karthik, our panel chair. We also have with us as a part of the panelists Mr. Anup Kaul, National Head, Inclusive Growth Services, BASIX. Let's put our hands together as we welcome him on stage. We have with us Mr. A.V.V. Prasad, Additional Commissioner, Rural Development of Andhra Pradesh. We thank you, sir, for having joined us. I'd like to request my team to please mic him up. We also have with us Mr. Pavan Kapoor, Chief Executive Officer, HCBL Cooperative Bank. Our panelists who will be joining us shortly, Mr. Sunil Mehta from Allahabad Bank, will join in the panel discussion a little later, but till then I'd like to request our moderator to please start. Of course, we look forward to an interactive session with the audience. Let's see how it goes. The final 10 minutes will be allotted for that. Sir?
Thank you. Before I start, I just thought I'll give an introduction. So the topic which we have today, so it's very interesting because providing access to high quality financial services to all sectors of the economy is one of the, including the low income household, is one of the critical areas and focus for the current government as well. And it's one of the key financial goals of the financial policy of the government as well. This is motivated by the fact that when you're looking at financial inclusion, it not only helps in increasing the thrift or the savings in the economy, but also helps in the overall increase in the economic activity in the unbanked areas, as we so call it. So that's one of the important things. In addition to that, it will also provide for a lot of efficiency in certain services which the banks and financial institutions may develop. For example, like your payment systems and others, which will also may have been probably very unviable for some time, but may become viable now with this current inclusion policy. This has got a new thrust with the the speech given by the Prime Minister on 15th of August, where he has put an emphasis of going in for about 15 crore accounts in the next 1 year as a part of the financial inclusion policy. And we have a team of very eminent panelists here. So we'll start off with the discussion with you, Mr. Prasad, if I can. While we were discussing just a few minutes back before we got into this session, you mentioned that we know that financial inclusion has been in this country for a long time, but financial inclusion is not really a rocket science, even though we have gone far ahead in rocket science rather than in financial inclusion, is what you mentioned. So that's the term which sticks to my mind. And even BC model has been in existence since 2006. So what has it been an exercise in futility for, shall we say? What are the learnings that we have had in the last decade, and how can we learn from those learnings to make it a successful model?
Way back in 2008, we started out because we had to make payments of NREGA wages all over the state in about 22,000 villages to about more than 1 crore of wage seekers. Every week this payment had to be made. We also had as many as 70 lakh social security pensioners who had to be paid once in a month. We wanted banks to come forward and do it. They started out on the service area approach, which they chose for themselves. But we found that after 1 year into the program, most of the banks have not come forward with their BCs. They are not even commenced with the payments. That's how it went on. We in fact changed our strategy. We allotted one district to one bank And because there were only a few banks who actually had the kind of initiative, and they did something. So it actually really worked. It became viable, and they started doing a good job. And in fact, we realized early into this business that unless you pay for this payment service, it doesn't work. In fact, for this we had to convince everyone, even the government of India took a strong objection that it's after all bank's business to make the payments. Why should government care to pay anything to them? But then we really worked for 4 or 5 years to convince them, and now after 8 years into the BC model, the realization has come that the BC has to be paid after all. So if we have failed over the last 8 years, one strong reason everybody agrees on is that we have not made a business case out of financial inclusion. Way back in 2006 and well into 2010, most of the banks were doing it on what they call CSR. And CSR cannot be done on this large scale. This is not a CSR activity. And after 2010, I have been hearing that financial inclusion is serious business and it's highly profitable. The volumes are going to be big. And we have only grown in much better lip service. And not much has happened. But as far as Andhra Pradesh is concerned, because we had to make these payments, we drove the project. We called it Andhra Pradesh Smart Card Project. We issued smart cards to more than 1.2 crores of people. And it worked through this until 2012-13, when we converted this entirely to the Aadhaar model. So we launched AEPS in our place. And in fact, as on date, we have involved post office also. And even post office itself, they make near about 30 lakh Aadhaar authentications every month by using more than 10,000 micro ATMs across the state. And we have covered all the villages. We have a micro ATM in every village. So we can say with confidence what difficulties are there in scaling up.
Sure.
And to my greatest dissatisfaction over a period of 4 years, we did a lot of convincing the bankers to take up FI activity on top of what financial payments they had to make. Our concern was that the last mile CSP was not getting anything. In fact, they were not passing on this 2% we are paying them. So this is the greatest handicap. This is the greatest bottleneck. So even now we need to recount where we have failed so that we don't repeat this past failure of 8 years. So we are quite apprehensive that unless we take care of the strategic and policy matters, just leaving out the field open and saying that you are free to do whatever and you have my blessings, go ahead and do financial inclusion. That's not the way financial inclusion will happen. I think we have to do something differently so that we get better results.
Thank you, sir. So, Mr. Anup, since you are a banker, if I can put you on the mat with what Mr. Prasad was talking about, that there are no free lunches in this world. So, how do you make financial inclusion a profitable business, if I can call it? And how do you take it that we ensure that it's not just profitable to you, but also it's good for the people who are the targets of this financial inclusion?
Yeah, Karthik, let me first thank Economic Times for inviting Basics and giving us this platform to share our views and experiences. And coming back to your question, I completely endorse what Mr. Prasad has said, that in this BC initiative there was nothing for the bank also, and there was nothing for the BC. But all that has thankfully changed. If I'm right, a figure like 5,000 rupees per outlet is being tossed around under the Jan Dhan Prime Minister's Jan Dhan Yojana. But I believe some banks have already started giving 3,500 rupees per outlet to the BC. So there is already a turnaround there. Two is initially it was to open an account and collect savings, but there's not much savings at the bottom of the pyramid. So most of the accounts were became dormant. So it was an exercise in futility, and that's what Mr. Prasad was referring to. But we had a very interesting experience. Basis Group owns a bank called the KBS Bishop Himmat Samruddhi Bank, and we have a business correspondent, which is a not-for-profit, so they joined hands, and this was about 3 to 4 years back. And we discovered that the bank had started making profits in the current month, and the business correspondent entity, the Indian Brand Services, started making profits in the 13th month. And within 2 years, the BC network was contributing to the bank's business to the extent of 35%. So the BC model worked. We shared it with Reserve Bank, we shared it with a few other institutions, and they went and studied it also. In fact, the then Deputy General Manager of State Bank also visited us, and we proved it to them that this is a doable model and a profitable model. The difference that we was here that we didn't just leave it to savings-led financial inclusion, it was microcredit-led financial inclusion. And as soon as you bring in the microcredit dimension, it enables you to start earning a bit. So if the topic today is consumer lending, I think if we look at consumer lending as not in the sense of consumer durables lending, but consumer lending in the area of, let's say, solar devices, or in the area of water purifiers, or in the terms of education loan, there is a possibility that we will be able to earn enough fee commission from the people who are supplying these. And if banks are willing to lend to these people, we will be able to earn some commission to the banks for lending. So I think consumer lending is the way forward. But a very big opportunity is emerging now, and that is when this government has decided to now have housing for all by 2022. About 18.7 million houses have to be provided, out of which 4 million will be totally new, and the remaining 14 million will be in situ expansion of the housing. Now, this is where we feel a lot of bank funds can flow. The scheme that has been designed by the Ministry of Urban Housing and Poverty Alleviation, as well in partnership with the Reserve Bank of India, is now making it very profitable for the banks to get into this business, and they'll be all mandated to provide this service. In fact, every bank is now required to have a desk officer on financial inclusion in every branch, and it appears they may also have a desk officer actually dedicated for housing for all by 2022 for that project. So now, if housing becomes loans start flowing in, we have fixed addresses, and that will enable us to cross-sell so many other financial products to them. So in my view, this is a huge opportunity that is emerging. And the third opportunity that is emerging is the recent circular by the Reserve Bank of India, which came out on the 14th August, where they are saying that they will request banks to move into the self-employment program in a vigorous way. They are providing 7% interest subsidy for this, and they are also mandating for the banks to take on the role of training these micro-enterprise in entrepreneurship building. So if we get into micro-enterprise building, if we get into housing building, we get into micro-credit operations, and we get this kind of financial support and subsidy of 3,500 plus per outlet, I think the point that Mr. Prasad raised will be history.
Sure. Mr. Pavan, if I can just come back to another aspect before I dwell deeper into these, but feel free to please comment on if you have any starting points you want to discuss. But also the aspect when you're talking about financial inclusion is the issue related to your KYC AML regulations, because then you have across the world globally as well, there is a lot of effort on ensuring adherence to this AML KYC standards, and with the recent Reserve Bank of India circular as well, has it actually thrown up more headaches for you, or has it helped you move ahead in this?
Initially, first of all, we thanks to the ETH, because this is the second time we are attending this as a panelist on the financial inclusion program. Earlier I had been in the Mumbai, the first program has been done. I endorse the ideas of our panelists who have shared their experience, like in Andhra Pradesh is a quite developed city, and he experienced a lot of good experience and also some weakness which he pointed out, our colleague. And similarly, our next colleague has also experienced the access and opportunities in the consumer lending. But before I start, as a cooperative representative in the cooperative sector, I would want to go to some flashback also. Because this financial program is not a new. Of course, our Prime Minister has given him more emphasis, keeping the overall development of this country. From last 10 years, I am personally looking into that banks are given the targets to open the accounts, all public sector banks. But what happened, then under pressure they opened the account on the zero balance account, and they are not functioning, they are not operating, and they become the whole futile activities. It is my personal experience 2 years back when we are doing some financial initiatives. My home maid, I requested to open one account with our bank also. She told, sir, Bhaiya, 3 account to मैं खोल चुकी हूँ अभी, क्योंकि incidentally she was working 3 bankers another. All 3 bankers opened account because they have a target, and the 4th account was ours, and they never operated. So what is the use of this opening the account with the zero balance which we are not going to operate? We have to be very serious about this financial inclusion drive. And my experience is that until unless we don't make capable to operate the accounts, it means that not only the financial inclusion, we should go one step ahead at the social inclusion first. We have to make those people to capable to know the importance of the money. Here the financial literacy plays a lot of role. Then naturally we have to put the platform how to work. You know, we started this financial inclusion program 4 years back in our bank. Plus cooperative sector, urban cooperative sector banks are also having a big scope of working, because our earlier panelist Hema was telling us that 32% of the urban population is still unbanked. So there is a lot of scope of working in urban areas, not only the villages. Of course, we have adopted some villages also. But in urban areas, we found the same dwellers. We have so many palledar, chicken, karigars. In Lucknow, you know, we hail from the Lucknow, and the Lucknow is very much famous for the chicken karigari, chicken clothes. That is not egg chicken, this is chicken clothes. This is famous all over this world. And people are coming to Lucknow and having shopping of this chicken clothes. And all these workers belongs to the very lowest social of the social economic pyramid, and they are women's, minority sector women's, and they are being exploited by the wholesalers. They are not getting even proper wages about their working. What we started, we make them included in our financial inclusion of our bank, and make them our members, and we make their self-help groups and given 10,000 small ticket size loan, and they open their karkhanas. It is not sufficient because they have no market. We provided them proper market to sell their goods, and for the designing part we have given computers in our bank branch, and then we have given the computer education their kids who can operate the computers, and then they start designing. And then that way they started their business. And for the security of our money, we linked it the monthly, not monthly EMI, we linked it the daily EMI. What we did, our daily deposit scheme agent goes to their door and deposit money in 20 rupees, 30 rupees, 50 rupees per day as a part of the repayment of the EMI. And that way they are giving EMIs, and that way our money is also secure. That way now they become bigger and bigger, and now hundreds of the chicken karigars become our member, and they are financially included and socially included. One thing more, as we think about the KYC, we had a big challenge from our regulator also. It is very surprising. Few days back, I got one circular from Reserve Bank of India. There is a KYC norms, and there is a big amendment. What amendment was? Till that, for financial, there is exceptional KYC policy up to 50,000 income group, and in that, any person who has their electricity card, या phone bill, or any small introducer of the banks to whom they are opening the accounts can introduce them and identify address proof also. Now all this provision has been deleted. Only gazetted officer can, or Aadhaar card, or gazetted officer if certifies their address proof and ID proof can open the account. Otherwise they cannot open the account. Now this no electricity bill, no address proof, no voter card will be as in a KYC form. This is a circular last few days back we have received. How the KYC, do you know that this street vendors can approach to the gazetted officer for their identification, or any gazetted officer is going to identify them? How they will open the account? And as for Aadhaar card we are talking about every time, you know, still more than 45% Indian population has not having Aadhaar card. In the remote areas where we are going to target it, they are not having even Aadhaar cards. So how you can make the base of this Aadhaar card for this financial inclusion? Till that, in गांव का कोई भी प्रधान लिख के दे देता है तो उसका अकाउंट खुल जाता है. आज गजेटेड ऑफिसर लिखेगा तो अकाउंट खुलेगा. So this is the KYC threat. Nachiketa Moore report has outrightly rejected the role of urban bank committee. This is the RBI role. You will be surprised to note, this is not forum to condemn anybody, but it is a practical issue which the banks are facing. 3 years back, we launched a mobile bank. And this mobile bank has all facility of banking, ATM, check, coin dispenser machine, cash deposit machine, everything. This mobile bank, and it is going to places where people are not having bank accounts, unbanked areas. And they are very happy to open accounts. A lot success we have got. One fine morning, we got a letter from the Reserve Bank of India that you cannot operate this. Because we never think that urban bank can do this magic. We don't think the urban bank can do this. Only private and public sector bank can do that. We told the these RBI people, we have a technological capabilities. We have our own data center. We have all blade server and everything. We are having a professional setup with us. And we are serving practically. You come and see. And interestingly, in one outreach program, Reserve Bank governor has come to our place and they have appreciated about this mobile ATM. And the second time, this has been stopped, that you cannot run this mobile ATMs. And the RBI is thinking that government, there is no alignment in the financial inclusion program of this finance ministry and RBI circulars. We bring here just because now this is the practical. Few days we have got one advertisement in the newspaper. Everybody has seen this Prime Minister program, in which Vitt Mantralaya has given this lot of things how the KYC can be done. And the second time after that letter, RBI has given circular against this. Now they are expecting that banks will do the financial inclusion KYC. That was the big challenge and failure of the financial inclusion model. Second, as far as the lending is concerned, you know, we need a safety of money. We are the custody of the public money. What happened? We started this, after this Jan Dhan, this program of the Prime Minister, we approached some people who are just banked of the urban banking, this urban areas, villages. Our people have approached them, भैया बैंक अकाउंट खोलने आए हो, लोन दे दो, सरकार बोल रही 5,000 का लोन दे दो, मिलेगा फ्री में. बोला भाई लोन दिया जाएगा लेकिन इसका पैसा भी वापस करना होगा. बोला सरकार माफ कर दे, मोदी साहब है, अच्छे दिन आएंगे, पैसा वापस हो जाएगा. पेपर पैसा देना नहीं है. Because they had an experience in the past that they have taken the money and they never repaid the money to the banks. And that is why the financial inclusion program has been failed. We have to change the mindset. We have to educate our people of this country that this is the money which is among your people only. Bank is only the trustee of the money, and you have to repay the money, and then we have to follow the money. Because that is why the whole banking sector is now facing NPA problem, either it is SBI or it is West any bank. So our emphasis is that in the lending model, we have to check how we can recover the money and how they can use the best end of money. People are taking money from the bank as a personal loan for mundan of their bacha, for social programs. They always think that they have not to repay the money. So we have to be very realistic also. Here, you will make surprise in India, first time our bank has this, the persons who are the lowest person of the social pyramid. This is the beggars. Always we give money to the beggars, you. But we started about this this financial inclusion program, along with the social inclusion program, with beggars. And you will surprised to note, not even a single beggar has requested me to open a zero balance account. We went to government offices, they say zero balance account full. But the real financial inclusion, we go to the beggars, you believe me, उन्होंने ऐसे कपड़े से पैसा निकाला, भैया पैसा वापस कर दियो, हम बैंक नहीं आएंगे, आपका आदमी आए तो पैसा ले जाए, ठीक है, हमारा एजेंट आएगा, डेली डिपॉजिट स्कीम कहते हैं, तो हमारे we are having a machine directly connected to the mobile, and the moment they make a biometric effort or something, their money is directly credited to their account and they got the alert. And surprisingly, you know, it is the irony of this country. Beggars are having a mobile. This is the irony of country. Our remote villages are having three things you will find very common. One thing, Coca-Cola. Second thing, Uncle Chips. Fourth thing, Daru ki bhatti. These three things you will find every remote areas of the villages. But our bank has not got any business opportunity in that areas. They are always crying that there is a cost-benefit analysis. There are a lot of opportunities over there. This beggar has opened the accounts. They are running it successfully. They are having a ATM card and debit card with us. Our people are going there. Earlier there was a little bit shy about coming to bank. Now they are proudly coming to our bank, sitting in our lounge, operating their accounts. And you will surprised to note, we are having around 200 beggars account in Lucknow city. And almost every beggar's account has more than 10,000 rupees. They are making FDR, they are making RDs, and they are successfully. So this is not only financial. We tried to make this, first we included financially in our bank. Now we put them in the social inclusion also. We requested so many beggars to give up this bad habit, come into the mainstream of the life and do some business like sending the flowers across the temple or some other business also. Few were agreed upon, but with a condition. The condition is this, that boss, मैं आप जो कहोगे भैया वो बिजनेस हम करेंगे, बट 3 दिन कोई बिजनेस नहीं करेंगे। हमने क्या हो गया? बोले साहब हम मंगल को कोई बिजनेस नहीं करेंगे, शनिवार को नहीं करेंगे, बृहस्पति नहीं करेंगे। हमने क्यों? कि साहब इस दिनों में हम ज्यादा पैसा कमा लेते हैं जितना बिजनेस करेंगे। वो बेगिंग से ज्यादा हमको भीख मिल जाती है, इसलिए वो 3 दिन बिजनेस नहीं करेंगे, बाकी दिन दे विल डू द बिजनेस। हमने सेड लेट्स स्टार्ट इट। So this is just funny examples, but it has some realistic ground effort also.
Sure. Yeah, thank you. In fact, it's interesting note, we are talking about...
Actually, after lunch, a small gathering is there. We have to keep it intact at least half an hour here.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, they will also there.
Interesting note, because we are talking about various financial inclusions. We are talking about opening accounts. We are talking about various credit products. So if I come to you, Mr. Rao, we are talking about, Mr. Prasad, sorry, we are talking about some experiences which have been there in the last 1 decade. So we are talking about distinctions between responsible and irresponsible lending. So there have been issues which have happened in probably the state where you're coming from, Andhra Pradesh, and what was the effect of it. So what is the learning that you need to take from there and ensure that it does not happen again?
In my view, the best thing to financial inclusion happened in the state of Andhra Pradesh when the MFI sector went berserk. And government did not lose time in coming up with a fitting answer. And it has in fact reformed the entire MFI scenario. What happened? We have a very strong CBO system. That is, the AP state has 1.1 crore women in self-help groups. It is all 11 lakh SHGs are there, and they have saved among themselves 5,000 crores of rupees. They are all monthly savings of 30 rupees to 100 rupees per head. And looking at that, their internal lending, their strong institution building and all that, commercial banks have come forward and they have given bank linkage loans of the order of 20,000 crores of rupees. Between themselves, they have a loan outstandings of 25,000 crore rupees for say 1 crore women. The average itself is 25,000 and it goes up to 50,000 also per head. And that is the ability to take loans and to repay without any collateral. No other state has reached that. Because of this only, you will understand that MFIs were doing most of their business in Andhra Pradesh state only. And that became such a big menace because they were lending at any rate from 36 to 120%. That was worse than what money lenders were doing. So we have two kinds of money lenders. One is the individual money lender and the other is the corporate money lender. We have no issues because money lenders are always there. But the main problem was they were doing consumer lending and they were giving all sorts of things, products to them, including TVs, fridges and everything, and they were lending at very big interest rates. And naturally the entire SHG infrastructure, it has fallen down because they only have to repay at 14% and the loan which has to be paid at 60% takes precedence. And these are all growing bigger and bigger by the day and they have no money left to repay their regular group loans. And that system was coming down, and what was worse, the families were lent so much money they could not even service the debt, and their ways of recovering was so bad, even the families were breaking down, committing suicides. So at that point of time, government acted and protected the entire system, and now even the government of India has said that they can only lend at 24%, not any more than that. Yeah. And that also I am questioning. No bank which is lending at 14% or 15% is comfortable with financial inclusion. But MFIs, because of their higher cost of operations, they say that financial inclusion is possible, and they are very positive about it. And here I question you people, all of you are living in the towns, because we are living in the villages and producing food for you, and you enjoy all the advantages of a growing economy. You and your corporate houses pay very little, much less rate of interest, and I, a poor man living in the village producing food for you, has to shell down 24% even as of now. Why should I?
Sure.
Now the question is, I am willing to pay as much as you are paying. If you think a higher rate of interest has to be paid, you also pay 24% jolly well. Why not?
Sure.
So now the question is, are you willing to do financial inclusion at the same rates of interest which you are going to pay? Don't tell me I have committed a sin living in the villages.
Sure. So Mr. Anup, do you have a counter to this argument?
Yeah, I understand from where Mr. Prasad is coming, and he's absolutely right. The poor are being asked to pay much more. The microfinance institutions were just trying to fill in a gap, because as he himself said, banks were not coming forward, and the money lenders were overcharging. We tried to provide finance to the that segment at the lowest rate that we could. And basics, for instance, never asked for more than 24%. And in cluster financing, we were even as low as 15%. And mind you, we cannot raise deposits. We have to take money from the banks and on-lend it. And banks' funds were coming at 14%, 13%. So we had very little room to give loans at the lower rate. So the point that Mr. Prasad is raising is absolutely right. That segment does deserve funds at a lower rate, and that's why we are looking at today how MFIs can partner banks. So MFIs don't have to use their funds. MFIs can play the role of an PC, and the new circular does allow the NBFC MFIs to play this role. So we will take cheap money from the banks and give it to the customers at the rate which banks permit us, and we just collect our commission. So MFIs know how to read the customer, how to size up his income, because there is no formal income record.
Yeah.
We know how to size up his expenses. We know what is his capacity to service the debt. So there is a very large team of MFI employees which can help the banks read a particular potential borrower and help banks to lend to them. Now, as soon as banks start lending, they improve the profitability for themselves. They make a good case for the customer. As he said, we need to not only bring in social inclusion to financial inclusion, but also economic inclusion. Launch this very people into economic inclusion so that they can invigorate the village economy.
Sure.
They can improve the purchasing power. They can then generate jobs there. So there is a need for us to get into consumer lending and help banks to
Sure.
give it at the lowest rate.
Sure. One last question before I throw it up to the audience for further questions. So when you talk about market conduct regulation, that falls there. Basically, there are three pyramid structure, if I can call it. One is related to transparency, fair treatment, and ethical conduct and effective redressal mechanism. So now, having heard both sides of the spectrum, you being a banker, how do you think you will be able to address all three in this in a financial inclusion growth?
Before I answer to this question, I want to say it is the dilemma in this country that people can get the car loan in the 10%, housing loan in the 9%, 9.5%, business loan in 14%, and this, once we are talking about this financial inclusion, we are giving loan to the 24%. Is it not a real exploiting of the people? How can you dream that they will repay your money? Which business in which they will be best, these poor villagers or any urban poorer, where they will have to invest the money, they will get the return of 24% and they will give you return. It is going to NPA. Why we are lamenting about the NPAs? We are the culprit of making this loan NPA. We as a banker, we decided as urban bank, we have a great role to play in the Indian economy. Our CASA deposit is there. We are having a cost of fund around 4 to 5% with us. We decided principally across the table with our board that we will lend this all financial inclusion, it is business loan or consumer loan, not more than 8%. The lowest loan in India anybody in financial inclusion is giving to us is our bank. This is a principal decision because we have to honest in our banking. We are always thinking about the profit making. Of course, we are businessmen. We have to earn the profit also, but we have to see the balance. Otherwise, tomorrow we have to see the NPAs, which every time we are lamenting, and otherwise we have to get subsidy from the government. And we as a trustee of urban banks, we are not getting any loan, any capital subsidy or any subsidy. The public sector banks are getting capital subsidy because their CRAR are always going out of control. Every time the government is giving relaxation for their issue of the share capital or giving sometime another help. Otherwise, they cannot survive in a single day in this Indian economy. Because this is the policy of the government. You have to think very realistic and honestly about this sector. Rest, now the Reserve Bank has, just to boost up this financial inclusion, they included this all small ticket size of this financial inclusion loan in the priority sector loan. What they did, now till that, this type of loan comes under 40% criteria. 40% you have to do priority sector loan. Just to encourage the bank, they have said now 50% of this type of lending will be taken as a priority sector lending. My business, why you are thinking about the money? You go for value, that so many numbers of accounts you have to, small loans you have to give in the banking sector by the banking to these real financial people, the person who are needing this money. So number of lending should be increased. A small ticket size 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 loan, small loan. Rather giving crores of loan. Suppose the housing loan comes into the priority sector loan. You give 75 lakhs rupees, it is a priority sector. You are very happy. So banks are completing the quota of this priority sector by this way, giving a big size of loans. Rather, if you want to really encourage the financial inclusion, the Reserve Bank should start that this small ticket size loan should be included in the priority sector. And that way they can spread their lending platforms. This is realistic synchronization between the banks who should sit together, and our regulators must sit together and think how realistic. By sitting in the air-conditioned home, this policy cannot be, real work cannot be done. This is a real threat to our economy. We have to go out of this five-star hotels and go on the field. What is the real problem? We urban banks, we are facing the problems of these people who are the street vendors, the vegetable vendors, and this press wala and the moti, we are having a proud customer of this kind. And they are coming and they are enjoying our VIP lounge. They are having a VIP treatment with the professional people like MBS, Chartered Accountant, Company Secretaries, BTech, MCA. They are in our bank. They are giving this treatment, rather speaking in English. We belongs to UP, Uttar Pradesh. You know how we are way back to other states. And there is a lot of opportunity to do the financial inclusion. Lot of opportunity. But for that, we have to be bank as a honest, सेवा भाव के साथ और जाना होगा, तभी ये रियली फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन हो पाएगा. अदरवाइज ये पहले की तरह कागजों में अपना दम तोड़ देगा. हम कॉन्फ्रेंस दर कॉन्फ्रेंस करते रहेंगे. थैंक यू.
With that, yeah, good question. Yeah, so give me the mic.
देखिए, विद ड्यू रिगार्ड्स, मैं पहले अपना बताता हूँ. आई एम रिटायर्ड बैंकर. आई हैव पुट इन 41 years ऑफ सर्विस एंड आई हैव डन मोर देन 4 decades ऑन दिस फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन. आई हैव जस्ट कम टू नो दैट your bank has got 4-5 years experience in this thing. Financial inclusion was there 3 decades ago also, under 20-point program of इंदिरा गांधी जी. ओके, उसमें भी जो है टोटल फाइनेंशियल इंक्लूजन भी था, ताकि जो है हम इवन डेथ सेरेमनी के लिए और हम रूरल इंडेप्टनेस के लिए भी लोन देते थे. आप जिस चीज़ की बात कर रहे हैं ऐसा नहीं है. और जो आप बता रहे हैं नंबर ऑफ अकाउंट्स के बारे में, 1 मैन ब्रांच हुआ करती थी शेरगढ़ के अंदर. 1000 अकाउंट्स जो है ना, 1 साल के अंदर हमने कंट्रीब्यूट करे हैं उसमें. ये गवर्नमेंट का लेटर है हमारे पास में. अगर 1 लाख ब्रांचेज इस कंट्री के अंदर हैं, अगर वो 100 अकाउंट्स भी अगर खोलते हैं तो 10 करोड़ अकाउंट बिल्कुल खुल जाएंगे. और आप जो वेंडर्स की जो बात बता रहे हैं, अपना 5000 रुपये का जो ओवरड्राफ्ट फैसिलिटी है, इसमें कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. सारे बैंक्स परेशान हो रहे हैं कि भाई हमको लिक्विड उसकी प्रॉब्लम होगी, रिकवरी वगैरह की. देयर इज नॉट गोइंग टू बी एनी प्रॉब्लम, बिकॉज यू सी there are two kinds of poverty. One is urban and this is in rural areas. Okay, I have got both the models. I have done work in 1982 for this rural poverty elevation and in 2012 urban poverty elevation, and there are 20 success stories. मैंने भी अपने सजेशंस दिए हैं। जनधन योजना के अंदर 4 सजेशंस जो है ना मेरे भी काम आए हैं। उसमें जो है ना जो टोटल उसका है, जैसे साहब ने इन्होंने बताया है कि बैंक को इसमें से पॉजिटिव चीज देखना है। देखिए फर्स्ट स्टेज में 5,000 रुपए का ओवरड्राफ्ट दिया जाएगा, ठीक है, जो बैंकों ने कहा है कि 3 या 6 महीने के बाद हम देंगे। अच्छा, अब जब एक DRDA स्कीम होती है और जो हमारी जो डूडा स्कीम है उसके अंदर 25,000 गवर्नमेंट 50,000 तक सब्सिडी देती है 25%। अगर इसको हम ये सब्सिडी उनके लिए हम अगर 1250 रुपया सब्सिडी दें इनको, जिसको कि रिवॉल्विंग फंड बोलते हैं, तो 40 गुना आदमी ज्यादा कवर होगा इसमें से। तो कहीं कोई पर, और आप जो इंटरेस्ट की बात कर रहे हैं ना 24% पर, और ये जो है ना देयर इज ऑलरेडी DRI स्कीम जिसमें 4% के ऊपर बैंक्स लोन देते हैं, और मैंने 1 लाख रुपया 50 लोगों को 1982 में दिया था और 50% गवर्नमेंट ने माफ कर दिया था। तो 4% पर एनम मीन्स जस्ट फ्री लोन्स। तो ऐसा नहीं है, देयर आर वेज एंड मीन्स, और ऐसा नहीं है कि बहुत बड़ी सक्सेस होगी इसमें, जो है कहीं कोई प्रॉब्लम की बात नहीं है। प्लीज थोड़ा सा आप जैसे नेगेटिव आप लोगों का आपका प्लीज मिस्टर कपूर थोड़ा सा वो व्यू था उसको मत लीजिए। यू हैव आल्सो डन ए गुड वर्क, प्लीज ऐसा कुछ नहीं है, ये बड़े सालों से होता चला आया है और हमारे मोदी जी ने जो इसमें जो डिक्लेयर करा है हर हालत में होके रहेगा, एंड आई विल सी टू इट। ओके,
सो वाज देयर एनी क्वेश्चन टू एनीबडी?
नो नो नो, मैं तो इसका जवाब दे रहा हूं, तो पैसे भी उधर लिए गए थे कि भाई ऐसा जो है ना।
ओके,
मैं पहले तो आपको बहुत ज़्यादा एज ए सीनियर बैंकर अप्रिशिएट करना चाहूँगा, और आपका 40 साल का एक्सपीरियंस है। मेरे पूरे खानदान में काफ़ी पुराने सब मेरे बाबा जी से दादाजी सब बैंक में ही रहे हैं, और एज ए चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट में ऑडिटर के तौर पे भी 20-25 साल पहले रूरल ब्रांचों जाता RRB के टाइम पे मैं ब्रांकों में गया हूँ और वहाँ पर देखा है। रियली ये ऐसा नहीं होता तो आज इतना भी ये नहीं होता जो आज हुआ है। मेरा क्वेश्चन ये था कि देयर मस्ट बी, मेरा जो एक सोच थी वो ये थी कि जो आज आपस रेगुलेटर्स और जो बैंक के अंदर जो आपस में सिंक्रोनाइजेशन नहीं है वो भी एक कॉन्फ्लिक्ट पैदा करता है। नंबर 2 जो मेरी बात थी, सिर्फ सब्सिडी से काम नहीं चलेगा, क्योंकि आप जो पैसा जमा करते हो वो पब्लिक का होता है और टैक्स के द्वारा गवर्नमेंट फिर सब्सिडी आपको देती है। यदि आप 4% पे लोन दे रहे हैं उसकी वायबिलिटी नहीं निकलती, गवर्नमेंट आपको सब्सिडी के तौर पे देती है। इसी वजह से आज सारे जितने पब्लिक सेक्टर के बैंक हैं उनको आप देखिए तो उनके NPA के बढ़ने की वजह से ही आपको CRR आपका कहाँ पहुंच जाता है। उसके बाद आपको जो है पब्लिक के अंदर पब्लिक इशू ला करके डाइवर्जन करके अपनी फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रेंथ को मजबूत करना पड़ा। एफर्ट हुआ, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं। आप जैसे लोगों ने बहुत सारा एफर्ट किया है, मोदी जी का एफर्ट अप्रिशिएटिंग है कि एक पहली बार किसी हिंदुस्तान के प्राइम मिनिस्टर ने लाल किले से बैंकिंग सेक्टर को भी स्पीच पे अपने ला करके बोला। अभी तक तो सिर्फ हम बैंकर लोग बोलते थे, तो एक अवेयरनेस तो प्रोग्राम में आई है, इसमें तो दो राय नहीं है। बट जैसा मैंने अभी कहा कि KYC पॉलिसी को ले लीजिए, आप इस KYC पॉलिसी को रिलैक्स करने के बजाय और स्ट्रिंजेंट कर देंगे तो एज ए बैंकर अकाउंट खोलने में आपको दिक्कत आएगी। जो आपका लक्ष्य है मोदी जी का वो नहीं पूरा हो पाएगा। तो मेरा कहना है कि देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ सक्सेस स्टोरीज, a legendary person like you people and so many our bankers, our people, family people have did a lot of things in banking. We are very small in Kenya, we are urban bank. One thing is very important, we are talking as a perspective of urban bank, because urban banks are working their own fund. They are not getting any capital support from anywhere. They are not getting any subsidy from anywhere. They are not getting subsidy from NABARD. So it is, we are the trustee of the public money. At the end of the day, we have to repay the money with the interest also. So in that way, we are doing some work. We have just narrated our work also. But of course, this banking channels and MFIs and everybody has a played role. You will see that one very good MFI who are giving big spread of work in the Uttar Pradesh has approached us for lending. We agreed to lend them just only on the 11%. But once we finalized the loan, we found from the letter from the Reserve Bank that we as Urban Bank cannot give the loan to the MFIs. And you know, urban banks are real rich in the urban areas.
Yeah, so that's an interesting point. So I think we unfortunately have run out of time. So once we close this argument, please feel free to interact with them, and if you have any clarification, they'll be able to help you out. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Karthik, and I'd like to thank our panelists as well. May I also take this opportunity to request our panel chair to please present with a memento to each one of our panelists. Let's put our hands together, and may I request Mr. Karthik to please do the honors. Thank you so very much, gentlemen, for making this such an interesting subject, the lending model and how we can add to it. Thank you, Mr. Kapoor. Thank you, sir. And now on behalf of IT Edge, may I request Dharmesh Kapoor to please present a token of our appreciation to our panel chair, Mr. Karthik. Thank you so very much, sir.